Today, I'm going to run through some suggestions on preparing for your trek up Bartle Frere, the highest peak in Queensland, and hopefully you'll be a bit better prepared when it comes time for you to take it on. So, Bartle Frere is located just south of Mirrawinny, near Cairns, about maybe 40 minutes south of Cairns. So the trek that I chose to do was the eastern approach from Josephine Falls and the summit. So that's about 7.5 kilometres each way, about 15 kilometres total trekking. And an experienced hiker or someone with a reasonable level of fitness could complete the entire trek in one day. And if you are thinking about taking on this climb, maybe consider some of the easier climbs first if you're not experienced, like the pyramid near Gordon Vale or the Blue Arrow track perhaps. And that way your body and your equipment will be much more ready for the Bartle Frere trek, because it is significantly harder than those other ones. So the next thing would be planning. When would you do it? And my suggestion would be take this on during the dry season. Do it sometime in between July and September. If you try doing this in summertime, say for instance January or February, you're going to be mowing through so much energy. It's going to be extremely humid. It's going to probably be raining. So my suggestion would be to plan this trek at a smart time when you've got dry, cool conditions. It might be a bit colder near the summit, but the rest of the trail will be much more pleasant. And that sort of brings me to the next point with your plan for doing this. So you've really got two options. You can go up and try and do it all in a day, which is, it sounds like why not, but it is actually quite hard. The next option would be go up, stay overnight at one of the camps up there. The eastern camp is pretty well it's got a little shack up there and you can lay down a swag inside it. And really a lot of people choose that option because then they get a good night's sleep and they can the next morning go back down again, rather than try and go back down after being spent from going up all day. So you've got to consider, are you going to try and do it in a day, or are you going to try and stay overnight? Because depending on which of those options, you've got to adjust your equipment and think ahead with what you need, because staying overnight means a sleeping bag or something to sleep on, some warm weather gear perhaps, because especially if you go in winter, it'll be ridiculously cold up there at night. So give that some thought. For me, my preference was to do it all in a day. I got to the Josephine Falls car park before sunrise. It was about 6 a.m. when I arrived, and I waited until about 20 to 7 before the first bit of light came, and then started walking. So I think I returned at about 6 p.m. That night. So that was including about 1 hour of resting at the summit. So that should give you an idea of the amount of time involved with taking it on in a day if you have a moderate level of fitness. So the next thing I could advise you on is hydration, because that point seems to be a bit unclear with people taking this on. Some people are just going up with ridiculously small amounts of water, and and hoping that it rains and stuff. But what you really need to do is plan your water amounts after the second stage in the Bartle Frere trek. There's 7 stages. They're marked in the landscape, and the second one is roughly when the last water source ends. There's a lot of freshwater creeks, there's 2 really significant ones that run across the trail, and you have water access, very high quality drinking water at those 2 points. So what I would suggest is taking a small amount of water to begin with, but having the capability of storing a significant amount later. So maybe 1 litre would be fine for your first 2 stages as you're walking up. And then when you get to that creek at the second stage, it's the second one where the diversion is between the Broken Nose Walk and the Summit Walk. You'll see a big sign there. That is your last chance to get good water unless it rains, because the track goes straight up. So that's where I would recommend getting out your bladder in your backpack, filling it all the way to the top, and also have at least 1 or 2 decent sized water bottles of maybe 2 litre sized as a backup. So then you've got 4 litres plus, and then you've got about 5 kilometres to the summit from there. So total walking distance would be 10, 5 and 5. So think about your water and think about how you're going to do it. Is it a day or is it an overnight stay? The other recommendation I can give you is regarding leeches. There's a lot of them on the Bartle Frere Trail. If you get any wet conditions, they're just teeming in certain parts of that walk. So have some DET spray your socks, and just be mindful of it. Maybe even have a little bit of salt somewhere, because they are very prevalent. I would also suggest bringing some camera gear, because providing that there's clear conditions, the views are amazing, and you can really capture some awesome images up there. And for me, that's another argument for choosing the dry season, because you get some days are so clear, and Bartle Frere is characterised by the cloud cover. If you drive past there on a regular basis, you'll see clouds always up there. So if you have one of those clear days where there is not a cloud in sight, that's when you're going to get amazing pictures. Unfortunately for me, there was a bit of cloud cover, but it was still a beautiful day. So in the next segment, I will run through all the equipment that I used during that day trek to Bartle Frere, and hopefully it helps you decide what to bring when it comes time for you to take on this challenging climb. Okay, what you're looking at now is the full assortment of equipment that I took with me on my day trek from Josephine Falls to the summit at Bartle Frere. If you were going to stay up there for an overnight trek, you would take other equipment. However, this range of equipment is what I would suggest for someone undertaking the day trek option. So I'll give you a quick rundown of what I took and why I took it. So starting with the sun shirt, very important, being lightweight, protects your neck and arms. I would recommend taking one on any hike actually. With pants, you can't wear long pants up there. It's a lot of climbing. I do actually prefer to wear long pants when I hike, but you can't really practically. A buff is good especially near the summit where there's no shade. A good sun smart hat and quality sunglasses, very, very useful. These sun gloves, they actually double as like a rock climbing glove. If you just go up bare hands, you're constantly reaching out in front of you and grabbing rocks, you'll get all cut up and sore. Good luck charm, got to have that. Camera, an optional item. Everyone seems to have touchscreen phones these days and just uses that, but this is actually a Canon power shot in a waterproof dive housing. If you bring a camera without housing, the chances of it coming back working are minimal, in my opinion. A handheld GPS, very good for peace of mind. You can mark the stages, the 7 stages on the climb. You can mark them as you go, and you have a known reference point in case you do go off the trail. Next thing is a waterproof case for your valuables. So I've just got a phone there and wallet and keys, and underneath that stuff is some batteries, spare batteries for my GPS, and spare battery for the camera if I need it. So once that stuff is in there, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Next item, footwear. I mean, gee, most people just wear Nikes and stuff, but in my opinion, you can't do these kind of hikes anywhere near as well unless you have some proper hiking boots. These are Scarpa's adventure equipment in Cairns on Grafton Street. Set me up with all my gear, and these have been the best item I've bought from them. So with socks, you've just got a wool sock there. I do prefer to wear a 3-layer system with my socks. This is the base polypropylene sock, then a hybrid blend sock, and then this over the top, and that protects your feet a bit. You put Vaseline on your feet first, and you'd be pretty keen to take that too, but it's here anyway. The next item is, it's if you have any cold conditions, especially if you're there in the sort of late in the day or early in the morning, having a thermal undergarment like this is very useful. It's I would really recommend buying one. They are a bit expensive, but I'd get one. And the next items, first aid kit. This is just a basic one, but it came with me. Sunscreen, you've got to have that. Insect repellent, a quality insect repellent with DET is essential. The leeches are ferocious, and you spray the outer layer of your socks, and your problems with leeches they won't be gone, but they'll be nowhere near as bad. Next things, which are actually probably the most important of them all, is hydration. As you can see here, I've got quite a lot of water here, and this is the amount that I took. So you've got your 2.5 litre bladder when it's got water in it, that is, and another 2 litres like an auxiliary supply. If you just take that and go past stage 2, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, because you've got to walk 5 kilometres roughly on a steep incline with only 2 litres of water. That's a very bad recipe. You want to have roughly 4 litres to cover my backpack, 48 litre Kestrel. It's one of the best packs you can get. I would recommend getting something similar. It is quite a big pack. Head torch. If you get stuck out there later than expected, or if you do want to start walking early, one of these is great. This is a Black Diamond brand, and I found it very good. If it does get a little bit wet, it still seems to work well, and definitely include that. you've got to have something to eat because you're mowing through big amounts of energy. Little muesli bars, I know they're a basic item, but you just knock off one every so often and they give you just a little bit of energy. And then the last item is just a raincoat, but it's also like a windbreaker. And if you wear, for instance, your merino thermal undergarment, your sun shirt over the top of that, and then this over the top of those two, then you've really you've taken care of your warmth if you encounter some cold weather. So there you go. That's the full assortment of equipment I took, and I hope it helps you decide what to take on your climb.